Now we're going to hear from Elizabeth Somerville, who is an air quality scientist at NIWA.
Kia ora koutou. So this is a brief introduction to the air quality work occurring in Hawke's Bay and Tairāwhiti. So essentially we've got, just for some context, two things coming together that are impacting air quality. We've got the environmental conditions have changed. So we've got silt deposited unevenly throughout the regions. And we need to know where that silt is in relation to people to understand the exposure that communities have. And we need to understand how prone that silt is to becoming airborne. And that is determined by the range of particle sizes that have been deposited in those silt deposits, the extent to the deposits, and then also the environment, the weather conditions that they're being exposed to. So of course, everything started off wet and it's been episodically dry and wet ever since. And luckily, in terms of air quality, mostly wet because that prevents it from becoming airborne. However, the climate outlook is not so good in that extent because we're expecting El Nino to kick in, and that during El Nino we become hotter and drier. And so that really ups up the risk potentially for large dust events where silt is still deposited. So then the other aspect of air quality is people's behaviour. And we've got people's personal or residential behaviour, household behaviour to consider, but also how communities as a whole are changing their behaviour in response to the impacts of the cyclone. So for residences, as we saw in the Christchurch earthquake, we've got people living in damaged homes now over winter trying to stay warm. And so a fallback for that is often wood burning. And we have a regular wood burning pollution issue in New Zealand, but we expect to see that amplified over this winter. In addition, we've got silt, and the silt recovery task force is up and running and moving silt around the region to try and put it into safe depositories. But what that means is it's being redistributed along the road network, and we've got potential resuspension occurring along those road networks and potentially bringing in dust into residential areas or along transport corridors where there originally wasn't as much dust. And that's a process that we're really keen to track and understand the impact of. So we've got, oh, have you moved on? Sorry, we forget. Thank you. I'll just mention one more thing on this slide, and that is the response to public concerns about air quality. So in addition to actually having sort of research objectives and aims to get long-term outputs out that are going to be of benefit to later events, and to other aspects of air quality in New Zealand, we have a duty of care to respond to immediate concerns. And so we're trying to be as responsive as possible to when communities are having concerns, and that of course is mainly about the silt. And so going in where we can and responding to those concerns with some immediate monitoring. So what we hope to get out of this, at least out of this research, is an extended data set of a speciation of particulate matter in the area. This is a real treat scientifically. Often in these events, you don't have baseline data from before the event took place, and we do have that in Hastings from the speciation work that the council was already doing there. And so we're extending that through the next upcoming years so that we actually have a baseline of the type of PM and potential source apportionment of where that particular matter is coming from. We're developing a risk assessment model for resuspended dust, first in Hawke's Bay, and then we hope to generalise that. So that's taking into account these environmental conditions that allow dust to be resuspended, but then where does it travel to? How far does it travel before it settles and potentially exposes people, but then also gets re-airborne by those local conditions. And then due to the responsive nature that we're trying to keep as well, we expect to get various short-term data sets from the filter sampling and optical sensors that we're going to be deploying. And our immediate stakeholders there are the people we're working with directly, but we're also working through GNS and ESR in terms of coordinating the analysis of the samples we're taking, and through those local air quality experts and medical officers of health into local communities. That's all.